All right, so we are all familiar with the concept of a big board when it comes to the NFL draft, right? You have a list of players that you list in a prioritized fashion for when it comes time for you to make a selection and the NFL draft comes up. It's basically a cheat sheet, right? So you have a list of players. Your turn to select comes up in the draft. You're on the clock. Time is ticking. You don't want to be thumbing through all of your scouting reports and whatnot. You have a big board that lists everybody in order and your preference of who you would draft in that spot if they were available. So what I've done with that is I've sort of taken that broad idea and narrowed it down to just the first round, just the 14th overall pick, which is what the Vikings have in the first round of 2021. So this list is 10 players that I would select if they were available, and it would be in this order. This is the ranking as of right now. Now, things could change. Free agency is going to be booming this week because it's believe it officially starts on the end of this week on March 9th, or well, actually it's the beginning of the week. But either way, there's going to be roster moves. So this could, theoretically change. But as of right now, this is who I would take if they were available at the 14th overall pick in this order. This is the pecking order. I do want to preface this by saying that I do realize that a lot of these players that I'm about to name are not going to be available at the 14th overall selection. There's a very good chance that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them are going to be nowhere near available at the 14th overall pick. I'm also not going to speculate that we need to trade up to go get them. This is just if they happen to fall. And we've seen it before, right? We've seen Aaron Rodgers tumble in the draft, Brady Quinn tumble in the draft, Laramie Tunsil for that video tumbled in the draft. For whatever reason, players fall, and for whatever other reasons, players get drafted higher than we anticipate, like Damon Arnett last year. So anything can happen, and this is just sort of to, sort of play within that system, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen, and you could get, the player of your dreams to fall at your selection, a la a Randy Moss or Justin Jefferson. So anything is possible. So without further ado, here is the list. We have 10 total to go over, and I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. Number 1 on the big board for the 14th overall pick is Justin Fields, quarterback from Ohio State. And this draft with Justin Fields gives me Deshaun Watson vibes. Like we are finding reasons that are knocking down his value, because it seems like Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson have picks 1 and 2 locked up, at least at this point in the process. And Justin Fields, I keep seeing him fall farther and farther and farther in the draft. I've seen him as low as the 12th overall pick. That is silly. I think I saw him the Charlie Casserly draft, right? He goes to the Steelers in the late 20s. That's never going to happen, right? Is he going to fall to 14? Probably not. But if he does, if we do experience Deshaun Watson syndrome again this year for some reason, where they're just picking apart his game, I say take him at 14 overall, no questions asked. To me, he feels like the de facto quarterback 2 of this draft class. I have him rated higher than Zach Wilson, so I would take him over Zach Wilson. Number 2 on this list of players that I would draft at 14 overall, if they made it to 14, is any of the top 3 wide receivers. And I cheated here a little bit because I didn't want to just have this whole list be Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, and Devontae Smith back to back to back. So I just lumped them all together. I'd be floored if any of the top 3 wide receivers get past 12. I think the Eagles are going to take one, the Lions might take one, and then the Giants probably going to take the last one. So, but Jamar Chase is the definition of breaking out at the right time, because he has proved that he can, stand with his peers at the college ranks. So he had that amazing season at 19 years old. I believe it was 19 years old, but that is ridiculous. Jalen Waddle, uber talented. Devontae Smith seems to do nothing but get open. He would be just a real Swiss Army knife in the Vikings offense. Pair him up with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, any of the top 3 wide receivers, no matter who else is on the board at 14 overall, I'm taking one of them. Moving on to number 3, I think you're going to have to hear me out on this one, but at number 3, my 3rd ranked player for the 14th overall pick, should he be available, is Caleb Farley, the corner from Virginia Tech, because best corner in the draft. And I know we just took Jeff Gladney last year. I know we have Cam Dantzler, but we don't have too much of anything else after that. And you really need a deep secondary to be able to win in this league, in this era. I mean, we just saw it happen with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, spent a lot of capital on securing a really deep secondary. I mean, Antoine Winfield Jr. at the safety position, Sean Murphy-Bunting at the corner position. You need guys that can play coverage because this is a passing league. You know, I understand we are a run-first offense. We are the exception. We're not the rule. So I think Caleb Farley, given his speed, his athleticism, would be a great fit for the Vikings defense and help us just push it to that next level. We'd have Jeff Gladney, we'd have Cam Dantzler, we'd have Caleb Farley. Good luck throwing on us as long as, you know, the other two develop. Well, all three of them, I should say. Moving on to the fourth name on my board here, on the top 10 big board for the 14th overall pick. I have Trey Lance. I felt like I couldn't leave him off here. I understand that he would absolutely sit for 1, maybe even 2 years. But I'm not totally against doing that, right? Because the Packers are doing that right now with Jordan Love. They did it before with Aaron Rodgers. It worked out before. So why don't we do that? You know, I mean, you can even think back to years and years ago when Carson Palmer was drafted by the Bengals. He sat behind John Kidna for a year. That turned out okay. Yes, John Kidna did win, like, I don't think, like, most improved or like comeback player of the year. He had a great season. But it's totally possible to have a quarterback sit for a year. I understand it doesn't help you win games now, but if you hit on the guy, then you get, you know, you get him for the next 10 years. So I think the value is definitely worth it to take a shot on a guy like Trey Lance, who is just loaded with upside and potential. Number 5, we start getting into the more realistic realm here. These are guys that are likely going to be available at our pick range at number 14 overall. Number 5 on my top 10 big board is, of course, Rashawn Slater, the offensive tackle from Northwestern. The reason I picked him is, well, there's actually 2 reasons. The first one being his versatility. He can move inside, play guard, where we desperately need able bodies. And the second reason being his film against Chase Young just totally shut him down. If you watch the player profile that I did on Rashawn Slater, you'll hear me talk all about that. But he's battle-tested against proven NFL talent. That's why I would take him if he was available on the board and those other guys were gone. Next on the list, after Rashawn Slater, number 6 on my top 10 big board for the 14th overall selection is Patrick Surtain, the corner from Alabama. This, to me, feels like a guy that I could not pass up if he fell to 14 overall. Is he as good as Caleb Farley? In my opinion, I don't think so. Would it feel... This one's a little bit harder to defend, but I still think the talent at that point, getting him at 14, I feel like he's a top 12 selection. It wouldn't be a reach. It would be pretty good value. And I feel like Patrick Surtain, you know, given the bloodline, should have a successful NFL career. So I feel like that would be a hit at 14 overall. Next, moving on to number 7, my top 10 big board for the 14th overall pick is KWITY PAYE, edge rusher from Michigan. I think as time goes on, and I'm seeing it happen in real time, people are sort of realizing the edge class this year is loaded with potential and not necessarily proven commodities. You know, KWITY PAYE didn't have the most outstanding season at Michigan last year statistically, but he is an athletic freak. The potential is there. Same thing with like guys like Jalen Phillips, Gregory Rousseau, you know, Joseph Asai. There's all kinds of good things to say about all of them, but there's also a few nitpicky things that you can point out that keeps them from being, you know, stone cold lead pie lock top 10 picks. But I would take KWITY PAYE. No questions asked. I'd be totally happy with that at 14 overall. Next, after him, if he's off the board, the number 8 guy on my top 10 big board for the number 14 overall pick would be Christian Darrisaw, the offensive tackle from Virginia Tech. 6'6", 315 pounds. I'm doing this assuming that Riley Reif is, of course, gone. But this, I feel like after Christian Darrisaw, the tackle class is still good, but the drop-off would be a little bit more significant. You know, you basically, your top 3 tackles are going in here, arguably, are going to be Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, Christian Darrisaw. So after that, if he's the best guy on the board at the 14th overall pick, that's who I would take. At number 9, this is where I decided that I'm going to trade down. If all of the guys that I have listed, Justin Fields, Caleb Farley, Trey Lance, Rashawn Slater, Patrick Surtain, KWITY PAYE, Christian Darrisaw, and any of the top 3 wide receivers, if all of those guys have been drafted, I'm trading down, because at this point, there's nothing really left that screams to me, if I don't get this guy, I'm missing out, right? And it has to do with positional value. There's no quarterbacks left. I'm not taking Mac Jones in the first round. That is just completely stupid. The receiver class after the top 3 is still good. I can get one later, like a Terrace Marshall, even Amari Rodgers later on in the draft. So I'm not like, you know, pounding the table for Rashad Bateman right here. Elijah Vera Tucker to me is a little too high for this for the 14th overall pick. So I'm trading down if all those other guys are gone. And at number 10, last but not least, if there is no good trade down deal to be had, I'm taking Gregory Rousseau from Miami. And we just talked about the potential, and I think that out of the ones that I mentioned, he's probably has the most potential. It just sucks that you only have 1 year of film to go off of. But I think that the skill set is there, and the versatility is nice because he could probably play the 3 technique if asked. So you can move him inside, you can move him outside. Sort of a reverse situation of Vita Vea with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the Super Bowl. So those are my top 10. That is the top 10 big board for the number 14 overall pick. Remember, some of these guys probably are not going to be available after the 12th pick, but if they are, it's something to consider. So I'll put the final list up on the screen so you can enjoy that as a recap. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.